Hey, Deborah. So the two clients I've been working with for the 20 sessions are Joanne and Austin. So Joanne was my first client, like literally my first paying client. And she came to me with a weight issue, but I very quickly learned that there was a lot to her story. So, what I learned by working with her is every week there was something new that she would bring up. She was a little bit all over the place. I learned, in the first discussion that you and I had, I learned that I needed to take more control of the sessions, or maybe just try to handle them in a more controlled way because she was all over the place. You had suggested taking some of her issues or topics that she brings up and putting them in a box, and then just keeping them safe in a box. And I did try doing that, but it seemed that every time we met, there were things going on in her life, like that week, that were so pressing, that were causing such strong emotions that we would talk about that. So it seemed like from week to week, we were always tapping on something different. And of course, there were definitely some connections and some themes that were woven throughout all the sessions. But I didn't really feel like I took one thing and completed it. However, I did trust that a lot of paths would probably lead to the same place, which I did find was true. So she had a lot of things going on. She was living with a boyfriend and the boyfriend moved out. She was moving apartments. She was starting another school year because she's a teacher. She lives in United Arab Emirates alone, away from her family. So there were family issues. But a lot of things just came back to just not being good enough, this feeling of not being good enough. Um, Something else that I started to realize, especially when working with Carmen, we did video exchanges. That was the new thing you added on to the certification. I thought that was so valuable. She helped me see just how complicated and complex Joanne was. So it kind of felt good to hear that from somebody else. And then she also said that she's a little bit in victim mode and not taking full responsibility. And I thought that that was really interesting to hear too, because I didn't necessarily pick up on that or think that. But then looking at it through Carmen's eyes, I could see why she thought that. And then that made me wonder if that's why there wasn't as much healing as maybe I had hoped. Again, though, the healing is up to the client. I know that and I fully agree with that. Um, there was one session though that there were many sessions that I was happy with. In fact, probably 90% of them I was happy with. Um, we did this is when I started doing the matrix re-imprinting. So I definitely got better as I went. One of the more recent ones I did with her, I thought was great. She thought was great. I was really happy with it. It was a memory from when she was 7 and she was in the grocery store with her family. And we were able to call in some protectors. We were able to give her a resource. She ended up wearing this flower headband that gave her some of her power back and confidence. So that felt really good. And then she realized in that memory that she had missed her grandparents. And so we infused the love of her grandparents into this headband. So anytime she thought about herself as the 7-year-old, she would see herself with a headband on and know that her grandparents were with her. So that was awesome. Like this matrix re-imprinting, as I'm getting better at it, it's really amazing. The only thing I wasn't happy with was her last session. And I don't know if she's going to sign up for more, but her last session, she kind of was just at wit's end. She was like overwhelmed all over again, frustrated, feeling like she couldn't get anything right, like the world was still working against her. And she was just kind of like, I'm done, like that nothing's working. And we really just talked a lot. And I just wasn't happy with kind of the way our last session ended. But then Carmen, because I had talked to Carmen after that had happened, and she said, you know, frustration is a more powerful emotion than powerlessness, which is where she had been in a lot of my sessions. So that's another good thing that she pointed out to me, because sometimes you get so involved that you don't even see some of these things. And that's true. She, you know, maybe she was in a more powerful place than we were before. I really hope that she signs up for more. I'm going to reach out to her just to kind of see where she's at. And if she does reach out to me, I'm going to work with her directly on the weight loss and how that makes her feel, which I can already tell you she's going to say overwhelmed. And that's one of the emotions we've been working on across the board. But I'm going to be a little bit more clear with making a map and identifying all the different places where she feels or felt overwhelmed in her life. And we're just going to knock them out one at a time in a much more organized way, because I feel like we were a little all over the place. So that's a huge lesson that I learned from her. And I think that's going to help me with all clients moving forward. My next client was Austin. And I have to be honest with you, I was really nervous taking him on, but I knew that there would be a lot of growth and I knew that I would be able to do it. So I'm thankful for this opportunity. He's been awesome. I know we talked several times about him. And since the last time we talked, I got a lot more information. I've been asking a lot more questions, which is something that I realized through you. And you basically said, you know, I need to check on the box. I need to check on who his protectors are. I need to give him more resources. We did all of that. We changed his box from a cardboard box to a titanium box with a lock on it. He has his protectors. He chose his grandpa, Wally. And we've been going in and reparenting him, going into these early memories where he's 7 years old and bringing in archetype, you know, perfect mother archetype person, father archetype, or an archetype of the perfect dad type of thing. In the last session that I had with him, we ended up pulling in grandpa, archetype, dad. And it was a scene where his brother was being beat up by his dad and he knew he was going to be next. And we went in, we had grandpa go in and break up the fight between dad and his brother. We had young Austin, we tapped with him. We ended up tapping with him and the brother. We ended up pulling in dad and grandpa, and we all tapped together in the memory. And then there was generational healing. We did forgiveness from grandpa to dad, dad to grandpa, dad to the two boys, Austin and his brother. There were like hugs all around. It has been, this matrix re-imprinting is amazing. I ended up getting the book, Matrix Re-imprinting, to read it in more detail so I can become even better at this. It's amazing. So I just actually got off with with Austin on another session. We just finished another session today. And, you know, he sees the progress. He's like, I know this is working. I know it's getting better. He's been really happy at the end of our sessions. I think matrix re-imprinting could be something that I use so often. I mean, it is, because you can change it and adjust it and give these clients what they need, what they didn't have when they needed it. And I see just how healing it is. So it's amazing. So all in all, I have learned a ton. I feel much more competent and confident in these skills. I love that I know the matrix re-imprinting. I feel like when all else fails, that's like, I have that tool in my back pocket, which is awesome. I've used basically all the techniques now, tearless trauma, movie technique, tell a story is obviously one that's used all the time. I think I'm ready for more clients. I mean, I feel like I've done a good job, and I see all the growth. I see that, of course, there's going to be more growth along the way. And having these phone calls with you have been so helpful. I've learned so much through you. And then, of course, we have, the mentorship, and I know that I can always reach out to you, which is awesome. So, this has been a life-changing experience, not only for me, but hopefully for, my clients and my clients to come. So, thank you. And I guess I will talk to you soon. Thanks, Deborah.